Batman, Spider-Man, Deadpool. These are some of the most recognizable characters from comics that have recently shown up on the silver screen in the last decade. Marvel and DC each have their fair share of iconic characters, but they also each have their set of black sheep that they would just hope you forget about. In this video, I'm going to discuss 5 characters that we will never see in live action. Some for good reason, and some because there's no way the studios can get away with it these days. Let's get started. The one above all. This character from Marvel originally got their start in 1976, and is Marvel's representation of God. I'm not talking about gods like Thor, the god of thunder, or even Zeus. I am talking about capital G God. In the past, the one above all has been shown to take many different forms, ranging from Captain America co-creator, and basically the rest of the Marvel Universe, Jack the King Kirby, to Iggy Pop, I guess? The problem Marvel would have with trying to bring the one above all to the silver screen would be the fact that the company would be acknowledging that in their universe of radioactive spider teens, mutated beast men, blonde aliens, and massive creatures that hatched from planets, there still is one true God. With the state the House of Mouse has been in recently, I don't think that's going to happen. Maybe if Walt was still here. What a legend. The other problem they would run into is who would play such a titanic character. If they introduced the one above all a few years ago, the obvious choice would be Stan Lee, considering he created about 99% of what the MCU is today. But since he's no longer with us, I don't think there's anyone who could play him. Unless they found a way to deepfake him into the role, but I think they're still a few years off from doing that, and it would be very poor taste. With no one to fill the role and Disney not wanting to upset theatergoers, I don't think we're going to see the one above all anytime soon. Speaking of Stan Lee and Jack Kirby, although they were an incredibly prolific creative team, they didn't always see eye to eye on things. Eventually, after years of working together, Jack Kirby ended up leaving Marvel and hopping over to DC. Well, that sounds familiar. From now on, I'm going to say James Gunn pulled a Kirby. And you're going to leave a like on this video. Kirby went on to DC and created many characters that are still held in high regard today. Characters such as Etrigan the Demon, the New Gods, and Darkseid. Kirby, however, did create a character that you may not have heard of, that being Funky Flashman. In 1972, Kirby was still very bitter about how his relationship with Stan Lee and Marvel was falling apart. So, to poke fun at the situation, he made Funky Flashman as a satire of Stan Lee. And it's not even like he was trying to hide the fact that it was Stan. I mean, look at the two of them side by side. You tell me if there's anyone else it could be. He was basically a shady businessman and somehow ended up becoming one of the founding members of the Secret Society of Supervillains. Which, let's talk about for a second. There is no way that could play out believably nowadays. Could you imagine? The year's 2028. James Gunn announces that they're going to be the villains of the JLA movie. You sit down in the theater, get comfortable, and as the film starts and you go to see the villains, you see almost what looks like the Legion of Doom. You see Lex Luthor. Okay, that's pretty good. Gorilla Grodd. Alright, we got some big Harambe energy going on. Darkseid. Yep, okay, I'm sold. Best supervillain team up of all time. Then, you hear footsteps. They all look up, smirks on their faces. As the camera pans, you see a figure emerge from the shadows. And it's this goofy looking fool! Seriously, he was one of the founding members of that team. And why Darkseid led a supervillain boy band based in San Francisco when he could have just boom-tubed them all up to Apocalypse makes absolutely no sense to me. But hey, the 70s were a wild time.
Yeah, baby, yeah!
Funky Flashman just can't be in the future of the DCU. Especially with all the goodwill that Stan Lee has in the public's eye. Plus, it would be an incredibly poor taste to parody somebody who's no longer with us. Especially with him being such a titan of the industry. Next we have Dog Welder.
Emotional damage!
Marvel has some characters that are incredibly popular, but personally, I don't think need to be in films. This one is going to trigger some people, but it has to be said. Squirrel Girl does not deserve a show or movie.
Boo this man!
I might be in the minority here, but I don't want to see a movie about a furry who somehow single-handedly took down Thanos. You know, the most powerful villain that the Avengers have faced so far. The most shocking fact about Squirrel Girl is somehow she was created by Steve Ditko. You know, the guy who also created some other characters you might recognize. Such as... and Doctor Strange. Yeah, I don't know how this happened either. He also created a character for DC known as The Question, who I have talked about multiple times in different videos, one of which I will link right here. So please, give this one a view after you finish this video, because it'll give you a lot more context about how that character can show up in the DCU's future. Squirrel Girl obviously has her fans, since basically 40% of girls at Comic-Con dress up as her, and the other 60 dress up as the worst version of Harley Quinn I've ever seen in my life. But does this mean that it will translate to a positive box office? Personally, I don't think so. And I don't think that that's a risk that Marvel is willing to take at this moment. There is no fifth slot.
I lied.
Instead, here's a list of all the characters from DC that they need to just leave in the past and not bring into the modern day. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the content, please leave a like on the video, and feel free to subscribe for more content. Comment down below with any characters that you think should have been on this list. Or, if you disagree with me, comment down below as well. If you want to see more from me, click here to see a video about how I discuss the future plans of the DCU. Or, you can click right here and see a video where I discuss the future plans for MCU Phase 5. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a great day. I'll catch you in the next one.